Data people. It's a pleasure having Geoffrey Can today, speaker and trainer in digital oil and gas, author of the book Bits, Bytes, and Barrels. Good evening, Geoffrey Can.
Good evening, Armando. How are you today?
I'm fine. Winter in Brazil, 22 degrees in Rio. It's different from your winter. Your winter is minus something.
Yes, minus something. It's it can be very cold. Although I would say today is Canadian summer and it's also 22 degrees.
Oh, fantastic. The same temperature.
Same temperature. Yeah, exactly. Brazilian winter, Canadian summer. So same
Yeah,
thing.
that's great. Geoffrey, recently you mentioned that the oil and gas industry needs smart people, data
Yeah.
people who understand data to put data to work. Is it something new in the industry?
It is not new in this that the upstream oil and gas industry has always needed strong data professionals to deal with the subsurface data because, as you know, the volume is so great. But these days, the challenge the industry has is that these new digital sensors and digital technologies are generating so much more data from everywhere that the demand for people to help structure that data, to make sense of it, to prepare it for analytics, to feed it into machine learning engines, the demand for those people has gone way up and they're in very short supply. So the industry now needs data people everywhere, not just in geology and the upstream.
Perfect. And do we have these people, let's see, qualified in the market available?
Well, the challenge is that every industry wants these professionals now, not just oil and gas, but agriculture, manufacturing, tourism, financial services, entertainment. They're all looking for the same kind of skill sets. So they're in universal short supply. And the second problem is that the university systems, where you typically learn and study the disciplines, the universities themselves have, it takes a long time for new instructional programs to be built and certified so that they can be successfully launched. And so the education system is playing a catch-up role, trying to generate the skill set needed in the quantities needed. And so the problem here is we have a supply chain problem. We can't produce the people fast enough for the demand that we actually experience.
But in the past, we had reservoir engineering, geologists, geophysicists, and they are very specialized in those data you mentioned before. And now we need people that are not specialized in those sciences. And is there a conflict in these two groups of people working together?
I don't think so. Let me see if I can change my image here a little bit. So this is an illustration of what I mean. So this is a classic control room facility for an oil facility, and you can see there's an operator, and they're working with the screens and the like. So now what we need is the data professional and the operators either to, if we cannot get the skill set in one person, we are going to have more than one person collaborating and working together to solve these challenges. And that's going to be until such time as the university systems train up the engineers and the operators with the skill sets that we're looking for in just one person.
And the providers of those tools to make available the use of these new demands, how are they dealing with these demands?
Well, the tool providers are moving very quickly to create tool sets that do not require programming skills. That's probably the biggest single innovation, is that these tools are now called no code, so zero coding, or low code, a little bit of coding. And what that means is that individuals who do not have a classic software background or software development background can be proficient on these tools.
So they do not use Fortran, Pascal, or JScript. They use something more in high-level communication tools to make these decisions.
Exactly. When I was going to university, we learned to program in Fortran, COBOL, PL1, BASIC, and this was a discipline to learn these tools. Now, children learn how to do software coding in school because it's just drag and drop. You drag one picture on the screen, connect it to another icon on the screen, and in the background, the computer builds the code for you. These solutions, if once you put them into the hands of experienced engineers in oil facilities, they can go and do their own software development and create the analytics that they need. Now, the challenge, though, is back to this question of data. If the underlying data is not good quality, if it's not maintained correctly, if it lacks appropriate definitions, taxonomies, all of that coding effort is wasted because the data is rubbish. And so the challenge for the industry now is to develop its what I call data skill, like really worrying the quality of the data so that when they go to use the analytics, the data quality is strong enough.
Clean data to have clean decisions. Something like
quite
that.
Right. Exactly. And you can imagine, if you had an automated car, we see Teslas driving cars, we can see what happens when the automated car doesn't react correctly to data. In the case of the car, the data is coming through a camera lens, and the camera is interpreting the data and saying, oh, that's a truck, that's a bicycle, that's a pedestrian, that's another car. If the data is poor quality, clouded by fog or rain, or maybe the camera screen is dirty, then the computer can't interpret what it sees, and it makes a bad decision. It'll run the car into a wall or drive it into a truck or off the road. It's the same phenomenon in our work world. We spend a huge amount of time trying to make our data correct so that we make these correct decisions. And this is now a critical problem for the industry to deal with.
It's a quality of data. You mentioned that this high-level communication or tools, at the same time, oil companies are outsourcing power and competence to the providers because providers are bringing these tools to the oil companies, no?
They are, but when you have a tool company and an owner-operator, the domain expertise, the understanding of data and to put the data into its correct context is not something you can easily give to a tool company or a service company. So you really do need to have that context expertise in your business. I'll show you an example of what I mean by this. This is a mining site in northern Alberta where the mine equipment is digging ore from the ground for the oil sands business. But mining in this particular location, if you do not understand the ore body itself and the location of the ore, and all you're doing is looking at the shovel activity level, you could assume the shovel is being very efficient, but it's digging the wrong rocks. So your effort is wasted. So the right answer is, if you're just even in this example with this mining equipment, you need the engineers to guide you to say, not only is the shovel digging efficiently, but it's also digging the right rock. And so that's why you need this context around your data so that the managers who are working with that data can make the right kinds of decisions.
Perfect. And data is going to cloud storage, or is stopping and being more local at the same time?
So there's two directions here. So one direction is to take the data to the cloud. And those companies that are starting out from scratch, brand new, or what we call in industry greenfield companies, where there is nothing, there's no infrastructure. You're starting out with a green area, place to work. This practice today is you go immediately to the cloud, immediately. For legacy companies, however, that's much more challenging because they might not have the telecommunications infrastructure, or they may not have the technology that can connect to the cloud. So they often stay in a more on-premises or localized world. And what we now see is computerization at these operating pieces of equipment, what we call edge computing, an actual computer right at the edge of that business, on that pump or on that compressor, and it is helping to run that compressor directly. And it may have data resident right on the computer right at that piece of equipment that's not on the cloud and is not connected to the company's traditional SCADA infrastructure. That's the second model that you see.
Second model, yeah, perfect. At the same time, cyber attacks have more opportunities in this case.
They do. Yeah, the problem of cyber is very, very real now. I don't know if your audience has noted, but in the US, there was a pipeline hacking event, Colonial Pipeline. Yeah.
$5 million.
Exactly, in Bitcoin. So in this instance, this has caused oil companies all over North America to immediately contact their computer professionals to make sure that they are not going to experience a similar cyber issue. But as you put more and more data into the cloud, more and more technology into the cloud, you do create more opportunity for cyber issues. And so it takes more, you have to put more effort into protecting your assets when you go to the cloud.
So the conclusion for me is that there is a shortage of skilled people to work with data.
Huge. Yes.
And the second, very important one that you mentioned is that the university are catching up to be, let's say, adapted to these new demands of oil companies.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. It takes a long time for the universities to make up the gap.
And the third is the cloud storage, especially for the beginning companies, the companies that are starting now, the green companies, called. And the cyber attacks is being very strong because the opportunities they are having more with this interface that we are creating every day.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The cyber opportunity, unfortunately, is not going away. People must appreciate, if we can use these very powerful tools to help us with our business, the criminals can use the same tools to attack us. And so they are as capable in attacking as we are to defending. So we're kind of in this arms race almost, where you have cyber activity on one side and protective activity on the other, and you have to keep pace now. You cannot ignore this.
And Geoffrey, and for the energy transition, the new energies that we are facing, solar, wind, and other, we have the same, let's see, challenge for data people?
Yeah, it's exactly the same, because the problems here are the shortages of data people and data capability. It has nothing to do with oil and gas directly. It's because every industry is also able to use the same technologies, and therefore they have the same demand for expertise. And so it doesn't matter whether it's windmills or solar farms or tidal power, the shortages are everywhere.
It's more related to IT than OT or IoT, so more related to the
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's the OT or operations technology expertise is still widely available. And we have IT expertise, and that's widely available. What's missing is this digital expertise that manages to the two different worlds, but also is skilled on these digital tools like cloud. Cloud is not OT and it is not IT. It started as a separate thing altogether. And so just to illustrate, The skill sets are strong here and here, but not in the new digital areas.
Excellent, Geoffrey Can, bringing us these new concepts, and the name data people will be very strong very soon.
I think so. I have been told that young people with background in data today are very, very short supply. And if there's any young people out there who are in their career, maybe 2 years into your degree, your petroleum degree or your engineering degree, you would be very smart to take some courses on data science, analytics, Python programming, any of those skilled areas to help you understand what data is all about. You will have a secure job coming out.
Perfect. Great opportunities for them, for those ones that study and practice this.
Yep, issues. That's it. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for this fine conversation, and to another one.
Yes, to another one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.